Hi, my name is Developer Ezra, and this is how I found my path. Starting out, I had a clear path in mind. Used Dijkstra's algorithm. It's well known and it is straightforward. Imagine that you have a map of grid like this. And that grid can be represented with nodes like this. If we rearrange these nodes visually into a clearer structure, you see a tree. You can easily see how searching each level of this tree systematically guarantees finding the shortest path. Technically, the actual Dijkstra's algorithm requires you to use the shortest next path. However, pathing in grid like this, we can ignore that part because every path from one cell to its adjacent cell has the same length. Now, without making any additional assumptions about the map, this is probably the most reliable way to find the shortest path from point A to point B. And I was happy that I was able to make this implementation myself. But one of my viewers during the live stream had a little question to ask.
Marvel says A star. First Super says A star? Fester, I don't know, but that method can consume a lot of memory, no? It can.
Why not use A star instead? Initially, I paused. I had heard of A star before and I understood the basic concept, but I had never implemented this algorithm before, nor have I used a tool that allows me to use A star before. You see, at that point, my gut reaction was to ignore this comment because, hey, for what I have and for my game, the pathfinding is working already, and it wasn't that bad. I was thinking, why fix something that isn't broken? But I couldn't shake this nagging curiosity. Asking questions like, could I actually implement A star? And if I can, how fast is it? How can I say I don't want to implement this and it is not necessary if I've never done it before? I had to know. The core difference between the A star algorithm and the Dijkstra's algorithm is in the educated guess, also known as the heuristics. With the previous method, I was just simply exploring every node evenly. But with A star, we need to ask the question, which node looks closest to the goal? It's a simple question and it is kind of obvious, but it's actually really brilliant in how it works out. But that's just the idea. How do we actually do this? We do this by considering two things. The actual distance we have traveled so far, plus the distance of the optimistic path to the goal. Okay, let's look at the map again. Let's say we want to move the character here. When choosing between the options we have available, we first consider the distance traveled so far first, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's the number of steps we already took. In this case, that would be 1, since the character would have traveled 1 space to get to each node. Then we consider the optimistic distance to the goal like this. When you put those two numbers together, we get a sum, which is the potential distance to the goal. And out of all the options, we would always pick the one with the shortest potential distance first. And if there is a tie, we would choose the one that is closest to the goal. I mean, there is more to it, but this is A star in a nutshell. And as you can see, conceptually understanding this algorithm is very easy. But it turns out, understanding the algorithm is only half the problem.
So that's definitely not working as intended. That makes no sense. Oh my goodness.
GDScript, the language of choice in Godot, does not have an implementation of min-heap, aka priority queue. It is a critical component in choosing the lowest path. But regardless, I needed it because that's the way to implement the algorithm. You see, in order to upgrade my code to A star algorithm, all I had to do was replace this queue, which is used to evenly travel through graph, to a priority queue to pick the best path. So suddenly, a seemingly simple upgrade has spiraled into a coding frenzy. I mean, it felt overwhelming. It went from maybe a few hours of coding to a few days of coding to a week of coding in order to get this going. And by the time I thought I almost had it, the character would misbehave just enough to be not correct.
First of all, I'm going to do a simple case of movement
Guy, move over here. And that sent me on a journey to create a visualizer for debugging the pathfinding algorithm, or even traversing through the min-heap algorithm to see if I'm making mistakes there. So that took another days or so to implement as well. As my debugging tool lit the way for my character, slowly, one step at a time, and systematically, finally I had found my problem. Right here, I had reversed my greater than and less than sign. Yep, that's it. That sent me on a 3-day journey alone, trying to figure out what was going on. Now that everything was fixed, the result blew me away. It was so much faster in comparison. I mean, I knew that, but I think I was more impressed by the satisfaction I had when looking at this algorithm seek its path like magic. At this point, I could just stare at this for hours, moving the characters back and forth, but I still have more work cut out for me, so I'll have to move on for now. Since then, I was able to continue improving on the algorithm to make an upgrade to allow 3-dimensional pathfinding, which was more days of work, but now that I have done this, I can confidently answer the original question I had in the beginning of the video. Could I implement the A-star if I wanted to? And the answer is yes, with a little bit of struggle. Oh my goodness. Looking back, I realized this wasn't just about making faster algorithm. It was about embracing curiosity even when it was inconvenient. Challenges like these aren't just obstacles. They are a valuable reminder why we love game development. I came away with deeper understanding and knowledge of the algorithm and new debugging tools and a deeper appreciation of being curious. And next time, I'll be smarter for it. Finally, I have a question for you. Have you also faced a coding journey that spiraled out of control? Or led you somewhere unexpected and valuable? Tell me about it in the comments. I want to know. And if you want to see more of these behind the scenes adventures, please hit subscribe and follow for more devlogs. Oh, and one last thing, I'll also release a separate video on how to implement A-star on Godot yourself, so you can have a deeper understanding that is more applicable to your game. That's it for now from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.